Greetings. My name is Louise Dente, and I welcome you to yet another edition of Cultural Caravan. On this edition is a special as we're joined by a person who's no stranger to our audience. He is the Assistant President General of the Universal Negro Improvement Association African Communities League, Brother Raymond Dugue. Welcome back.
Sister Louise, it's always a pleasure to be on Cultural Caravan, and thank you for the invite.
Oh, great. So I know this is a very special year. You've been talking about this year since last year, and this is the 66th convention, which is August 15th to the 20th. And there's so much going on. We're going to have the world coming to New York, particularly Harlem, all the different various affiliations from across the United States and the Caribbean, and even Africa, right?
Absolutely.
Everybody's coming to New York. So it's going to be an exciting time to tell your relatives to be here in this place for all the great things. And first, basically, I know that there's a very special day coming up, which is really the birth of the Garvey movement, July 20th, which is you've talked about. So can you give us a snapshot of what inspired the Honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey to found this mighty organization many moons ago?
Let's just go back a little bit. He was born 1887, August 17th, in St. Anne's Bay of St. Anne's Parish, north coast of Jamaica. His father is a descendant of the Maroons. The Maroons are very proud Africans. You know, the name is as a result of Africans. As soon as we came in these shores, and let me say this, we were resisting everywhere, resisting in Africa, in the interior, resisting as we were dragged through to the coast. We resisted at the coast, everywhere, especially on the high seas. So, you know, for anyone to believe the narrative that we just accepted our lot is absolutely untrue. So having said that, Mr. Garvey's father is a direct descendant of the Maroons. In fact, in Jamaica, there were over 60 hilltops of Africans resisting. And it wasn't just in Jamaica, but Jamaica is where Mr. Garvey was born, but all over the Caribbean, and especially IET. I mean, I don't have to say that. I mean, everywhere, Dominica, St. Lucia, U.S. Virgin Islands, Cuba, Puerto Rico, everywhere. I mean, we're even talking South America, in Brazil, in Palmares. In fact, that was the very first set of Africans who established their own nation, their own government. That lasted clear almost 95 years. So Mr. Garvey's father is a direct descendant of Maroons. So that independence, that love of self is already there. Plus, not only is his father a stone builder, a stone mason, but his father is a very learned man, well-read, has his own library. So Mr. Garvey is born in that household. And then no African can ever be complete without a loving mom, which Mr. Garvey had. Oh, Sarah Richards nurtured him and gave him everything he needed. Anyway, so Mr. Garvey is from that realm. And so the concept of always being independent, always doing the best for your race is already there. So, he goes through life at a pretty early age, right before he turns 14, we're talking 1901, Mr. Garvey has to leave school. And in those days, as you left school, you would be apprenticed to whatever occupation you wanted. And so Mr. Garvey was apprenticed to a printer, actually a very skillful printer, Alfred E. Burroughs. I mean, this man is going to be very prominent in Mr. Garvey's life. Mr. Garvey learns printing. It's not just he learns printing, but he excels in it. The way it's so organized, the way he does it, it's like surgical. Everything about Mr. Garvey is of excellence. Anyway, so Mr. Garvey's learned a lot in life. He's figured a lot of things out. And then he realizes, you know what? I've got to take my show on the road like a lot of Africans. By the way, I mean, he was the very first master printer, very first African master printer in Jamaica, and the youngest. He was 18 when he became a master printer. All the master printers in Kingston were white. They were either Canadian or British. So everything he does, he excels. He's a very learned man. Anyway, so he tries He creates his own newspaper that doesn't succeed, and he eventually leaves his master printing job because he realizes nothing is as important as the liberation and the uplift of your people. And so, of course, he's going to run out of funds. So he comes up with this really great idea. Why don't I immigrate? Why don't I become an immigrant and travel overseas, collect and amass a ton of money, like a lot of us think we're going to do, and then go back and really galvanize the movement. So his first trip, 1910, he's going to travel to Costa Rica, and unbelievably, he's going to end up working for the United Fruit Company. The best way to describe United Fruit Company is they were the CIA overthrowing, installing puppet governments before the CIA was created. CIA is established in 1947 as a result of a Harry S. Truman, who was president at that time, executive order. Well, this is 1910 when Mr. Garvey immigrates to Costa Rica. And of course, he's going to run into problems because he's trying to advocate for our people, standing up for Black people. And no self-respecting colonizer, imperializer, genocider, and slaver is ever going to allow that. So he tries to organize our people, and our people they're reluctant, they're resistant. And so right before the authorities come after him, he escapes and he goes to Panama. He ends up working on the Panama Canal. And what does he see? Oh, by the way, what does he see in Costa Rica? Black people at the bottom. I mean, he thought it was just in Jamaica, which was a colony. But when he gets to Costa Rica, which is an independent, so-called independent country, he sees, wow, Black people at the bottom. Then he goes to Panama. What does he see? Black people at the bottom. He says, wow, 3 different places, same result. Then he goes to Colombia. By the way, Colombia has a ton of Black folks outside of Brazil. The largest number of Black people outside of Africa is in Brazil. After Brazil is United States of America. After United States of America, it's a tie between Haiti and Dominican Republic. Right next to them, equal amount of Africans is Colombia. We're talking more than 10 million Africans in Colombia right now. Haiti's got 11, Dominican Republic has about 11, and you're talking 10 million in Colombia. Anyway, Black people at the bottom, that's what he sees in Colombia. He goes to Venezuela, he sees the same thing. He says, wow, I think I'm getting the hang of it. And then he goes to Ecuador. Then he goes through Peru to get to Bolivia, where he works in the copper mines. And what does he see, Sister Louise? Black people at the bottom. Nothing has changed. He goes to Nicaragua, Honduras, and he says, whoa, this is not happen chance. This can't be luck. No, this can't be bad luck. This is a legitimate program. This is a worldwide conspiracy. And then he formulates this idea that, you know what? The whole world has made being Black a crime. So he says, I hope to make it a virtue. So he says, okay, I'm getting it. Now he's running out of money. So he's got to get back to Jamaica. He gets back to Jamaica in 1912, hangs around. And I have to say this, in April of 1912, April 15th, actually, when the Titanic is going to sink off the coast of Newfoundland. That was the biggest, baddest vessel ever in the history of humankind. And who owns the Titanic? The White Star Line. So he says, oh, let me get this. The President of the United States of America lives in the White House. And the biggest, baddest ship is owned by the White Star Line. He says, okay, I get it. I'm never going to forget that. I'm gonna come back at you. So he's hanging around, and he's back in Jamaica, hanging around. Then he says, okay, I got even a better idea. Let's go to Europe, the big time. Let me go find out. Let me go see what I can learn and do. He leaves around August of 1912. He gets to England. He's going to land in England. He's going to visit London, England, of course. He's going to go to Scotland. He's even going to go to Wales. He even crosses, what do you call that, the sea, and he goes to Ireland. Everywhere he goes, he says, whoa, even over there, Black people at the bottom, white folks still oppressing us. So then he starts, not enough. He goes to Spain. He goes to Paris, France. He goes to Italy, Austria, and Germany. He says, okay, I get it. Okay, no one's coming to our rescue, and we need to uplift ourselves, and we need to rely only on ourselves, self-reliance. So he's going to meet another mentor, Duze Muhammad Ali, who blows him away. Duze Muhammad Ali tells him, well, if you really want to learn about Pan-Africanism, you got to start with the master, the granddaddy of them all, Edward Wilmot Blyden. So Garvey heads off to the British Museum to do research and learn about Edward Wilmot Blyden. While he's there, he's reading about pyramids. He's reading about Giza. He's reading about Imhotep, the father of medicine. He's learning about Tutankhamun, Ramesses. He's learning about Shabaka, Pianki, Taharqa, Thamos, the greatest of all female heads of state, Queen Hatshepsut. All of this Garvey's learning. He's figuring it out. So then, of course, he's running out of money. You know that's happening. So he says, okay, I think I've got all my information. Let's go back to Jamaica. We're going to establish, also, while in London, he's going to read about Booker T. Washington. Oh my God, Booker T. Washington is the most important Clark because he understands self-reliance. We can't complain. Of course, these are beasts. These are animals. They enslave. They commit genocide. They oppress us. They inculcate self-hatred. But guess what? We don't have time for that. We've got to build. So that's what Booker T. Washington does for Mr. Garvey. And he's going to learn. And then while he's there, get this, he even works on the African Times and Orient Review, the very first international Pan-African magazine. Duze Mohammed is the editor. Garvey reads everything, everybody. He's going to learn about Alexander Cromwell. He's going to learn, well, he already had learned about Edward Wilmot Blyden. He's going to learn about John Edward Bruce. He's going to learn about Martin Delany, Henry Highland Garnett, Bishop Henry McNeill Turner. And he had already known Dr. J. Robert Love because Dr. J. Robert Love he met in Kingston, 1909, who really is going to mold Mr. Garvey. Whenever you read one of Mr. Garvey's famous quotes, the black skin is not a badge of shame, but rather glorious symbol of national greatness. That's completely borrowed from Dr. J. Robert Love. And in fact, the motto of the UNIA, one God, one aim, one destiny. That's completely from Duze Muhammad Ali. So what we learn about Mr. Garvey is Mr. Garvey is a supreme intellectual, well-learned. He's a Renaissance man. He reads, he knows poetry. He even had an excellent collection of art. But what we learn about Mr. Garvey, on top of all of that, you know what? It's not that Mr. Garvey creates a lot of these things. No, but he's going to mold it and take it to a different level. Do you see what he's learned from Dr. J. Robert Love? You see what he learns from Duze Muhammad Ali. And, think about it. Booker T. Washington has probably had the most impact on Mr. Garvey. Anyway, I know I'm being long, but let's get to the story. So Mr. Garvey leaves England June 17, 1914. We've seen the registry. There were only 3 third-class passengers on the vessel. Mr. Garvey's one of them. Just to show you, finances were an issue. Mr. Garvey has got this idea. I got it. He says, all I've got to do is build an organization, a government, and he's going to call it the Universal. The reason why he has to call it universal, because our conditions are universal. We Africans are universally oppressed due to race, and any solution to our condition must involve race, and it must be first. Hence, race first. All of this Garvey is going to create while in England, and he says this in many of his passages, that one night on the boat he meets a Jamaican brethren whose wife is African, whose wife is from current day, oh man, the name escapes me. It's an African country that's completely surrounded by another country. It's completely surrounded by South Africa. Uh, and that brother is going to recount to Mr. Garvey the viciousness, the evilness of the colonization, where they would kill the African woman to pull out the fetus to determine the gender. I mean, how they would cut off their breasts, cut off their arms, how the quota. Garvey is so depressed. He returns to his cabin and he cries. He says, "My God, our condition is universal. I can't stand still. I've got to do something about it." And so this is what this is about. So Garvey leaves June 17th. He's going to arrive, spend time in Trinidad by July 1. And this is important to know. He gets off the ship and he strolls Port of Spain. It docks in Port of Spain Harbor. Regular black man, it's stifling heat. He's got his suit and he's walking around in Port of Spain. Nobody knows who he is. He's a nobody. This is 1914, July 1, July 2nd. You ready for this, Sister Louise? In 5 years, 2019, there is no name bigger in Trinidad than Marcus Mosiah Garvey. So what he's going to do in the next 5 years, from 1914 to 1919, has never been done and never been equaled. That's why he's the greatest organizer in the history of humankind. Anyway, getting back to it, finally gets to Jamaica. Now he's going to make the rounds. And then, so from July 8th to like July 20, he's going around meeting people, broadcasting, promoting that he had been to Africa, he had been to Europe, he had been all over Central and South America. He had even taken courses at Birkbeck College in England. So he really does a good job of promotion. So on Monday, July 20th, 1914, at 121 Orange Street, Mr. Garvey founds the UNIA. So as a result, this year, Saturday, July 20th, 2024, for the very first time in Southeast Queens. And by the way, we live in Southeast Queens, and Southeast Queens is where we built the Faka Rock. But more importantly, Southeast Queens is the richest African community on the planet. So we've got to lead. So Saturday, July 20th, is our very first ever Southeast Queens Parade honoring the founding of the UNIA. The parade will assemble at 9 a.m. in the morning. We start marching at 10. Where does the parade begin? It begins right in front of Jamaica Breeze Linden, 19403 Linden Boulevard, St. Albans, New York, 11412. From Linden Boulevard, we will travel west to Farmers Boulevard. When we get to Farmers Boulevard, we'll travel south on Farmers to Merrick Boulevard. Merrick Boulevard, then we'll turn left, turn east. We'll go back up Merrick Boulevard. We'll stop by The Rock, which is at 13205 Merrick Boulevard inside of Belknap Street, and then continue into the other Jamaica Breeze location at 23202 Merrick Boulevard in Laurelton, New York. We start at one Jamaica Breeze, we end at another Jamaica Breeze. We've got black cowboys coming. We've got the black vintage cars. We've got victory music and dance marching band. We've got our float. We've got our very own special Grand Marshal, the elder, Brother Jose Richards. Brother Jose's been talking Garvey before I even knew how to spell UNIA. So it's only fitting that being in Southeast Queens, we honor and respect. So we're expecting a lot of people. And as a bonus, we will be giving out the UNIA t-shirts with the logo, with Mr. Garvey. It will be our treat, our gift. So we want everybody out there, and this is something we're going to be doing every year. A lot of the local politicians have signed up because, like every politician, they don't want to miss out. And so we can surely make a difference. We can set a statement for all that Mr. Garvey did. This is the least we could do. Plus, we have such a large percentage of UNIA members in Southeast Queens. And as I said, the FACA Rock, the Federation of African, Caribbean, and American Restaurant Owners Corporation, our 15,000 square foot community warehouse that we built from the ground up with all the dry goods, fish, meats, produce, vegetables, waters, spices, and drinks you can imagine. So all of this we did following the philosophy of the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey. So please come out. Sister Louise, we're waiting for you. You got to be there.
Oh, well, we've been along the journey, man. How many years? Come on, come on. But one of the things, you're absolutely right. One thing about you, you just lay it down line. I want to also make sure that you talk about some of the other key dates that you're going to be
Go right ahead.
celebrating in celebration of the 66th anniversary of the convention. Can you just list some of the things that are happening in August between August 15th and August 20th?
Okay, so we just mentioned July 20th. 5 days later, July 25th, is the birth of the general, the Emperor Jean-Jacques Dessalines. I mean, we've got to honor and celebrate and respect him. That's July 25th. Okay, moving on. August 3rd, the first Saturday in August, we celebrate Flag Day. What Flag Day? Well, I'm so glad you asked. Mr. Garvey gave us a flag, the red, the black, and the green. The red for our blood that must be shed for our salvation. The black, that's the most beautiful race. And the green, our land, Africa, that's our flag. By the way, Mr. Garvey came up with that idea while working on the African Times and Orient Review and reading about an article, and he learned about a song that said, every race has a flag, but the coon. So Mr. Garvey decided in 1913, if it's the last thing he does, he'll give us a flag. Well, guess what? On August 13th, 1920, at the very first international convention, Mr. Garvey gave us a flag. So in New York, we celebrate the first Saturday of August as Flag Day. That's August, this year will be August 3rd. Moving down, well, August 14th is Boakarima. This is when our ancestors in the northern part of IET, at the time was called Saint-Domingue, came together, made a Congress, and said, in 8 days, we're going to exact retribution on these evil slave masters, kill every white folks that we could see. So on August 22nd, Africans all over from northwest to northeast of present-day IET, we're talking a distance of more than 1,000 miles. Every plantation went up in flames. Man, that was the most excellent, organized, choreographed dissension and rebellion ever in our history. So that's August 14th. We'll be celebrating that in Brooklyn at Prospect Park. By the way, Flag Day, August 3rd at 5 p.m. is at Prospect Park, right at the entrance of Parkside and Ocean Avenues. So that's August 14th. Well, the next day, August 15th, is the start of our convention, the 66th Annual International Convention. It's right here in Queens, Southeast Queens at CMOTAC. So that's August 15th and 16th. And then August 17th, Sister Louise, that's the holiest day of obligation. That's the birth of our prophet. So we're going to have a Marcus Garvey festival and parade all day in Harlem. The festival starts at 10 a.m. It's at the Harlem State Office Plaza, 10 to 5, and then our parade. But our parade it starts at Marcus Garvey Park. So it's a short walk from the Harlem State Office Plaza to get to Marcus Garvey Park at 124th Street and 5th Avenue. And then we're going to honor and celebrate and respect Mr. Garvey as he should be. So that's August 17th. The next day, August 18th, is our red, black, and green gala. It's at Occasions in Southeast Queens. And then August 19th is the last day of convention. That's at CMOTAC. And then August 20th is the end of our convention. And then the last date I need to share with you is August 31st. In the Declaration of the Rights of the Negro Peoples of the World, Article 53 states that August 31st shall be a national holiday for all Black people because we are now a government. So the UNIA is more than an association, more than an organization. It's a government. It's a Black government for Black people. My name is Raymond Dugue, and I'm at your service.
Okay, Raymond, one thing about you, you sleep, eat, and breathe Garveyism, and you are basically just every time people hear you, that's the main thing and that's the pulse. And I'm sure a lot of people are excited about some of the great things that are happening. Tell us about some of the other information. How can someone get information about the event that you have? Where can they go? The website, phone number? Talk to us.
Absolutely. Okay, our website is www.unia-aclgovernment.com. Everything is listed on there. That's number one. Number two, as you know, Sister Louise, and you've been helping us promote this, we have our own media. It's called UNIA Rock, ROC Media. So you can go to that website, www.uniarocmedia.com, or you can go to YouTube and do a search of UNIA Rock Media. And then if you want to reach me, you can always reach me. My number is 718-570-7350. Let me repeat, 718-570-7350. Everything is out there. And then we've been giving out palm cards everywhere. And guess what? Let's say you can't find me. My Sister Louise, Cultural Caravan. She's our ambassador. Thank you.
All right. Well, as I said, I think it's going to be a very exciting time. A lot of people have heard of Honorable Marcus Garvey, but to actually see it in action and right here, New York, Harlem, New York would be the epicenter of the world coming to Harlem. And what areas, if you could say, and I know we only have 2 minutes, so I'm not even going to keep that, but I'm just saying that there's a lot of exciting things happening. I want to thank you for joining us to talk about it. And I'm sure we're going to have you back to talk again as we move into that very critical month of celebrating Garveyism and celebrating the UNIA ACL. So with that, on that note, I just want to thank you so much for joining us, and I look forward to more information. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. Have a good day.